Hi, I'm Michelle, and today I'm going to share one of the most commonly made diet mistakes to avoid if you're constipated. Then I'm going to give you 3 quick steps for getting back on track and beating constipation for good. Now you'll know you're constipated if your stool is a type 1 or type 2 on this Bristol stool chart, which means that it's really hard and lumpy. You're likely to be emptying less than 3 times a week, and you're probably straining to empty your bowel, or maybe you're not emptying your bowel fully. Now, as your stool passes through your system, water is removed as the stool passes through, so that by the end of the bowel, when your stool reaches the end, it can become really hard and lumpy and really hard to shift, just like this pipe here. So you can imagine yourself being really constipated. That's what it's going to be like at the end. Now, here's the really big mistake, and I know I'm guilty of making this mistake, and I wonder if you are too. What do we do when we're constipated? We reach for high fibre food. We think that by getting more high fibre food into our bodies, it's going to help relieve constipation. So I've done a little experiment here to show you what actually happens when we put high fibre food into our systems, and I think you're going to be really interested with the results. So last night, before doing this video, I mixed some insoluble fibre and some soluble fibre with water. Now, these are both high fibre types of food. The types of soluble fibre that I used were chia seeds that you can see in here. I used some psyllium husks, and I also used some rolled oats and some banana. And I mixed it up with water and left it through the night. So you can see that there. Now, the other high fibre food that I mixed together was insoluble. So insoluble foods don't actually digest well as they're passing through. And these are things like your beans, your legumes. I mixed up some chickpeas. I mixed up some carrot peels, and I sliced up some celery, and also I got some brown rice. So some of these are the typical types of high fibre foods that we might like to reach for when we're constipated. I also mixed those up with water as well. So we've got our soluble that dissolve in water and our insoluble high fibre foods that don't dissolve in water. And I think it's really interesting to see what happened. If you look at the soluble fibre, it's like this. So I can actually tip that upside down, I don't know if you can see that, and it's actually not shifting. So this is high fibre. This is also high fibre, and you can see that it's pretty well like it was. It's dripping too. It's pretty well like it was when I put it in last night, and you can see that nothing's really happened. Now, both these types of fibre play a big role in our bodies, and they're really important when we're not constipated. So the soluble fibre swells up and it makes your stool really nice and soft and helps it pass through. And the insoluble fibre normally helps speed up everything to pass through your bowel as well, so that the stool passes through quickly. However, if you have high fibre foods when you're already constipated, if you think back to our blocked pipe, what's going to happen? You're going to end up with a combination of this at the end of your bowel, and your constipation is going to get worse, which means you're going to be really bloated, you're going to have abdominal pain, you're likely to feel nauseous and not well at all. So that's the big mistake. I know I've made it. Have you made that mistake too? Let me know in the comments below. Now, what do we need to do about this big mistake? Well, there's 3 steps that we need to take, and I think you can see that increasing high fibre isn't one of them. What we actually need to do is reduce our fibre intake, just temporarily, and at the same time. That's step 1. Step 2 is going to be, if you're really constipated, go to your doctor or see your pharmacist and get a laxative medication to actually clear the blockage. So until you clear that blockage, you're not going to get everything through well. The 3rd step then is to gradually reintroduce your fibre. Now, it's going to be a combination of your soluble and insoluble fibres, but you can see if you have a whole lot of this at once, it's going to clog you back up again. We're all different. The recommendations are that we have between 25 and 35 grams a day of fibre, which most of us don't achieve. But Start gradually and play around with your mix of your fibres. The fibres that don't dissolve well, your insoluble fibres, so they're the skins of fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, your brown rice, and also too, your soluble fibres which keep the soil soft, and they're things like your rolled oats, bananas, chia seeds, and you can see plenty of lists of these types of foods on the internet if you have a look. You can also refer to my video that I've got listed above and in the description below, and it's on foods that will actually help to soften your stool. So you can see the really big mistake to avoid is to actually start eating high fibre foods when you're constipated. However, use your high fibre foods to prevent constipation when you're not constipated. So they're my two really important tips for today. I really hope this information helps you empty your bowel and also to manage your constipation better. Let me know if these tips help you below. I'd love to know. And also too, if this video has helped you, if you can give it a like, because this also helps other people find the video too. Thanks so much for watching today. I'll see you next time.